CEO murder suspect Luigi Mangione is in a Pennsylvania jail this morning fighting his extradition to New York. Investigators still trying to piece together more on his movements and on his motive. The past few days have been a fascinating glimpse into the work of the NYPD. Each day, they turned up a little more video that opened up one clue and then opened up the next clue. You know, the coffee shop video, the hostel video, the getaway bike, the getaway taxi. Yesterday, Mangione had a brief message for the reporters who gathered in Pennsylvania. That outburst provided another glimpse into his mindset, supported by the handwritten manifesto that Mangione had on him at the time of his arrest. The DA from the county where Mangione was picked up discussed the next steps in the extradition process.
We're going to do what's necessary to get the governor's warrant. And we're working, with the New York City Police Department and Manhattan DA's office, and we're going to get the defendant up there so they can prosecute him on their charges. So waiving, accelerates that process. Contesting it, just provides more hoops for law enforcement and prosecutors to jump through. But we're happy to do that.
With us in studio this morning, Rebecca Weiner, the NYPD Deputy Commissioner for Intelligence and Counterterrorism. Good morning. Thank you for coming in.
Good morning.
This is a suspect who tried very hard to cover his tracks. There was clearly some attention to detail. A pre-positioned bicycle, cash transactions, wearing a mask most of the time. I think as we look back at the past few days, it's clear that there are so many cameras out there, it's really hard to cover your tracks.
Absolutely. Those cameras make it quite difficult for people to cover their tracks. He tried, he was thoughtful, this was meticulously planned, but our detectives are more meticulous. And of course, we have the very sharp eyes of the men and women in the Detective Bureau who are finding all those stills that you just described, and of this heroic McDonald's employee with her own really sharp eyes who put this together with us. So
within the New York City investigative process, tell me how that worked, because there, as much as we have online video cameras and artificial intelligence and things, typically when you have a store with a security camera, nobody knows how it works. There's a DVR in the back of the store somewhere in a closet.
Right.
Your officers have to do shoe leather detective work, go out to those stores and say, can we look at your video?
Absolutely. So I think everybody assumes that this is all automatic in the age of AI and cutting edge tech. And there is a lot of tech out there. But really, this is hard work by human beings who are doing those canvases. We have our Lower Manhattan Security Initiative, 70,000 networked cameras, which has been around for a long time, which plays a part in finding that video. But ultimately, you have to put together with human beings and their acumen all of these movements, aided, of course, by technology. But the technology piece never can stand alone.
Right, but it's still, you look at the way, day by day, it was, here's where we think he was, went into Central Park, but then picking up on information about the taxi ride.
Exactly, right.
I mean, how does that come together? Is there just a moment of surprise, elation for an investigating officer when they say, I've been watching an hour of video, but I think I see the suspect here?
See the guy, and I think this isn't a linear process. There are so many routes that have to be trod down painstakingly. Some of them come to a dead end. And so when you find the one that leads you to the next step, of course, it's tremendously satisfying. And all of this is happening in real time and in front of international scrutiny.
Yeah, but with stakes, by the way. You've got somebody out there with a gun.
Exactly, who's shown brazen willingness to target somebody on the streets of Midtown Manhattan in cold blood. So certainly the intensity. But this is, of course, something our detectives do every day. And the training and all of the practice that they unfortunately have dealing with fighting crime every day comes to bear for a high-profile investigation like this.
There is not a city in the world where there are more high-profile CEO visits, and the NYPD is not going to track every CEO visit in New York for the next year, but if there's a company that has somebody here that asks for security, do you provide that? Do they hire it themselves?
So this is a partnership that we have been building for years with private sector partners, not specifically for incidents like this, but we have constant communication. And that communication is really important now where there's a lot of widespread fear from CEOs, from companies, the fact that this incident wasn't an individualized act in the sense of somebody who just had a personal beef with somebody else, but that there was an ideological element to it, this anti-corporate writings that were in his possession, suggests an animus that we're then seeing replicated online with a lot of threats. So that's also, unfortunately, investigations that are high profile in the era of social media tend to get this onslaught of follow-on noise out there.
And our job is surprised by the extent of that. It's
yes
easy for us to sit here and lecture and say that a killing is never a solution to something, but there is such a sentiment, particularly against the healthcare companies.
That's true. And I think the fact that people are more comfortable promoting violence than endorsing CEOs is a problem, but we see this with other threats often. The internet is often a dark place, but is also a place full of noise, and our job is to find the signal. So all of these online threats and all this rhetoric, that's what we do every day, not specifically in one sector or another, but trying to make sure that we can identify the individual who might act on those feelings.
Thanks for coming on this morning.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. For more stories in your communities, click the subscribe button right here. You can also download our app or watch us on TV for the latest news and weather updates every 10 minutes and more. We'll see you then.